Hi, I'm Beth. Welcome to my channel. In this yoga class, we are going to focus on strong, stable hips. We'll be using a block for a lot of the poses, making this a good follow-up to my block party class if you haven't tried that one yet. We're going to go from the floor to kneeling to standing. And the idea is to build hips that are not only flexible, that's part of it, but also that are really strong and stable. Okay, so you can set your block aside and we'll start seated in a cobbler's position. And cobblers means that the soles of the feet come together. Now you don't have to worry about whether your feet are closer to you or further away. Find a spot where they're comfortable and where you can sit upright in your torso, making contact with the sits bones on your mat. It's helpful to be near a wall as well for when we go to our kneeling and standing poses. Okay, so from here, I'm going to place our hands lightly on the inside of our thighs, and you'll see my knees are up. Again, that's fine as long as you're comfortable. You can always move your feet further away. I'm going to lift the knees in thirds, lifting with the muscles all around the hips. So as we lift, our hands are going to provide a little bit of an isometric pressure in the other direction. Not a lot. I'm not shoving down with my hands, just a light pressure there. So as you lift in 1/3, second third, keep gently pressing with your hands, last third, and then let that go. We'll do that 2 more times. Light press with your hands, or just really light resistance with your hands. Lift in 1/3, second third, once more, let that go, and then last time. Lift using all those muscles, engaging your hips. Second lift. One more lift. All right, and let it go. Now we're going to do the reverse. We're going to start with our feet on the ground, hands on the outside this time, and engage the reverse set of muscles. And you might feel both on the inside and the outside of the hip. We're just trying to work the muscles both ways. So again, light pressure, just a little bit of resistance on the outside of your thighs. Come down in 1/3, gently pressing your hands. Second third, pressing a little more. Last third, and let that go. And we'll do that 3 times this way as well. Pressing 1/3, second third, one more time, let it go, and then last time through those thirds, hands on the outside, press 2, last press, and release the muscles. All right, take your block and place it between the feet. Now you get to choose. You can place it on the most narrow side. You can place it on the medium side. You can try the longer side. I'm either going to go with the least or the medium side. I think I'll try medium today. We're going to press the soles of the feet into either side of the block. And again, we're really, as we press the feet, we're trying to feel the engagement of the muscles around the hips. So a lot of times cobbler pose is used as a stretch for the hips. That's fine. That's a great way to get some movement and mobility in the hips. But we also want to make sure all the muscles are really strong. And so that's why we're pushing into the feet. And I can feel that in my inner thighs, even a little bit around the outer hips, mostly these groin muscles, the muscles that adduct or pull our legs together. You're just trying to sustain some pressure here. Breathe as you naturally would. Now, if you've tried it one way, you can try it a different way and notice how that feels when you try it at a different height of the block. Last little bit here. And then you can take the block away and see how your cobbler pose feels now as compared to when we first started. You notice anything different here? May not, that's completely fine. You might start to notice a little bit more sense of freedom somewhere in your hip joints. Maybe your knees are naturally a little lower. That's not what we're going for, but that could happen. All right, we'll do one last little thing seated. This time we're going to keep your right foot in, and I am mirroring you. We'll take the block on the low end to the inside of the right foot, and the left is going to come so that the knee comes right down onto the block. So your knee is going to press into that block. Try to keep your sits bone down. You'll see that mine lifted up a little bit when I did that. Now, definitely this is targeting more the outer hip muscles, the glutes, which are part of our hip muscles. It's all connected. We're pressing lightly with the knee, and then we're going to pivot on the foot and turn this leg out and press this way, and now it's more the inner leg that's reaching. Now, if this leg is not comfortable bent, it can come straight. In fact, I think I'm going to keep it straight. I think that's a little bit more comfortable. We'll do that 2 more times. Come in with the leg, press gently with the knee, pivot on your heel, press with the muscles on the inside, and you can use your hand, remember, always very lightly to aid in at least the direction of where you're trying to engage. We're not trying to use the strength of the hand, we're trying to use the strength of our hip and groin muscles. And then one last time, press in with the knee, engage with the glutes, engage with the outer hips, maybe down and through the IT band here. One more time, open up. Okay, let's move to the other side. I'll do one with the left leg bent, and then we'll go to the straight leg, because that feels a little bit comfortable to me, just to show you how to do it both ways. So we bring in the knee, and I have to rearrange myself a little bit to be comfortable on this side. You might too. Press the knee lightly into the block, engage your muscles. And I'm just using my other hands to help me sit up here. And then as I open this knee out to the side, I'm just straighten this front leg so I can use the muscles around the inside of this leg to open up. Come back in with the knee. And I admit that I borrowed this move from yoga instructor Rodney Yee from one of his videos. I just always liked this move and how it feels. You can really engage the muscles around the hips in a different way. Open up. And then last time, take the knee in, press to the block lightly. Open up. If you'd like, you can rest your hand here lightly, just reminding yourself of the direction of the movement. All right, and then give your legs a little shake out front. Come to a kneeling position facing the wall, and you will need your block. We'll actually be moving from kneeling to standing. So let's step 1 foot forward so it's facing the wall. Back knee is on the ground. We're going to place the block under the knee this time. So you can get it there however makes sense for you. And just take a moment here. You can use the wall. That's why it's convenient being the wall. Use the wall to help you balance. Hips are faced toward the wall. This might feel different than your average lunge. So let your body just get used to that. You'll see I have my back toes tucked, and it's fine to use the wall for balance. This is not a balance practice, although I have a little bonus balance coming up in a few minutes. But here we can use the wall for balance as we push into our back toes, lift the back leg, push the heel away into a crescent lunge. So we're using the muscles, not just the hips, but I'm using my quad muscles to push the leg back, my hamstring muscles to move the leg away. And then using the wall for balance or not, I'm going to lightly touch my knee back down and then come right back up again 3 times. Try to go slowly, see how this feels in your body. See if you can keep the front knee stable so your front leg isn't wobbling all over the place. It might. Last one. And then I'll touch the knee back down to switch sides. I can move my block over a tad. Take the knee on the block, step the other leg forward, or however is easiest for you to get into this position. And then find this upright lunge shape. You can have your back toes tucked or not to start. Take a moment to allow your body to acclimatize. You can adjust your feet wider apart to give yourself a more stable base. Notice that your front points of your hips, your ASIS, are pointing toward the wall. And then again, lightly using the wall for support or not, tuck your back toes if they weren't already tucked. It'll be easier to stand with your knee over your front ankle and push into that front foot. Raise the back leg using all the muscles around the back leg to come into your crescent lunge. And then we'll come back down, lightly touching the block. Come right back up, keeping the front knee bent, so you might want it to come a little straight there. Touch back down, that's 2. I'm going to try to keep the front knee bent this time as I reach the leg back. Last time. And then touch the front knee down, or the back knee down rather. And then we'll come off the block. Put the block aside, keep it nearby. We will use it again. We'll come to standing. We're going to take our warrior 2 shape for the leg. So I'm going to take one foot close to the wall, other foot away. So my foot to the wall is pointed directly to the wall, directly to the short end of your mat. The back foot, the heel comes a little bit out. You can look and see if you have alignment of about heel to heel, but also you can widen that again to have that more stable base, whatever feels right to your body. Your hips are neither pointed straight to me nor to the front. They're somewhere a little out in a diagonal. And notice that as you sit down into your warrior 2 legs, that your hips are still out in that little diagonal. That's perfectly natural. Your pelvis is going to move. What we want is we want to spin the chest, the rib cage around to face in the same direction, the long edge of your mat. And then we want to try to make our weight even in both feet. So the tendency, that's why we're not using our hands in warrior 2, is the tendency is to kind of sail forward, or when we do peaceful warrior, we sail back. We're really going for how can we let the hips carry our weight evenly. And I can't see what I look like. I don't know. Maybe I'm not so even. Maybe it feels even. If you have a mirror or a friend to check you out, you can do a double check on that. You can also press into the outside edge of your foot a little bit more. Lift with the inner thigh muscles to press that back foot again, because our weight tends to go forward a little bit more. And hopefully you'll feel that quite a bit of strengthening is happening here. Take one more breath. Press into your feet, give your legs a little rest by standing them straight. And I'll turn my feet around and we'll just go the other way. So this time your opposite foot forms the front leg, toes point straight out, and then the back foot, the toes point in a little bit, maybe about a 10-degree angle, but no need to measure that, just approximate where your hips feel comfortable, where your legs feel comfortably apart. And remember, you can change the width between your legs as well. Find that place with legs straight, and then bend the front knee. We're looking to have the knee somewhere over the ankle, not so where it looks a certain way, where it feels stable. Remember, this is not just strong hips, but a stable hips. So we place our body in a stable position, then we can grow strong. That's the whole idea. So when you find that, you can lightly place your hands over the tops of your thighs or at your waist. 1, to encourage or remind that little bit of gravity sinking you down, but 2, to remind yourself to sink down right in the middle. And maybe you glance down and notice, are you sinking toward the middle? Maybe you do a little shift of your weight back and forth to get a sense of, oh, my right foot or my front foot was really holding more of my weight. And in that case, try to slide your weight, almost if you're pulling your legs apart. That might help to make your weight feel a little more even between the 2 legs. And that's, yes, we hold this a little bit. Holding poses in yoga is great because it's part of where our yoga practice can be a really strong practice, help us build strength. Deep breath. All right, let's take one more breath here. And then we'll push into the foot to come up. All right, I'm going to turn to face the wall. We're going to do, rather than warrior two, we're going to do a crescent like we did when we lifted our knee up. So that means the back foot is going to be up, and we're going to use the block again. So the block, I would suggest this time having it on the medium width. The front of your shin is going to hold the block against the wall. So you might need to scoot your front leg a little closer to the wall. Below your knee so that your knee is not pressing to the block. So this is just there to help us keep our weight pressing evenly forward. And then for crescent, I'm going to lift my back foot. Take a moment here. And then I'm going to go from crescent, so my hips are now turned toward the wall, unlike warrior two, to warrior one, where I'm going to take my foot flat. Now my foot is on much more of an angle than it was in warrior two. My hips are more pointed toward the wall. They might still be out a little bit of an angle. And my stance is a lot shorter. My back leg is not as far behind me. All that, it works really well. Stay upright here for a moment. And then we're going to walk the hands in the direction of the front knee, spinning around the rib cage, twisting a little bit. And if you're feeling this like I am, you're likely feeling some kind of stretch traveling all the way from your hip, maybe to your lower back, and that's pretty much the direction of our psoas muscle. I'm going to turn away from you so we can hold this for a few breaths. Keep pushing your weight away of your back foot. And your exhale, you can spin a little bit more. And then you can walk your hands along the wall to unwind. Turn a bit and remove the block, and we'll switch legs. And you can certainly do this without the wall. It's just a really nice little bonus, and it helps us spin. All right, place the block. This is probably the trickiest part, right? Finding how you get your shin to hold the block as you're facing the wall. And that's why we start in this crescent position with the back heel up, legs pushing away from us. Just trying to find a secure place where we're holding the block, sinking into our crescent lunge or upright lunge, and absolutely using the wall to help. And then we're going to bring our heel down as we slide the leg forward a little bit. So this is more of a warrior one legs. And you see me shimming around trying to find the position where I feel comfortable and stable. Once I get to warrior one, I'm still holding the block forward. I'm trying to push the heel of my back leg back. It doesn't matter if it doesn't come all the way to the ground. I mainly just want it in a stable position. Hold onto the wall in an upright position. And then I'm going to walk my hands a little bit around toward the bent knee side, spinning around my rib cage. Your range of twists might be very different on one side or the other, so just allow that to be just as it is. Keep pushing the back heel down and away from you. And then we'll hold here for a few breaths. You don't have to hold anywhere in particular on the wall. If you don't like using the wall, you don't have to hold the wall at all. If you can stay in your little revolved twist without the wall, that's fine. All right, let's take one more breath here. Start to unwind, and you can just let that block drop, step away from the wall. Find your mountain pose. Mountain pose is our stable place, both feet flat on the ground. Let's like this mountain pose for a moment, because I promised you a little bit of throwing ourselves off balance. That comes up next. All right, so here we go. Place the block on your mat. I recommend having the wall nearby for that little balance aid. We're going to step one foot onto the block. And you'll see I might take my hand away from the wall, but I will use the wall to help with this. Step the other foot up. And what we're going for is as if the bottom foot was on a block too. I'm trying to have a mountain pose with the one foot in the air. And that's where the wall here is really helpful with my balance. So if you're doing this along with me, hopefully you feel that a lot of work in the standing leg that's on the block to keep you up here. And now let's see what happens when we take some movement into it. When we abduct our leg away, we're asking the outer hip to work. And then we adduct our leg toward, we're asking the inner hip, the inner groins to work. Take it out. And you might take it a little behind next time. So a few like this where we're strengthening each side. And see if as you do this, you feel the muscles pulling with the outer hip muscles, pulling with the inner groin muscles. Let's do one more time. Pulling with the outer hip muscles, pulling with the inner muscles. And then we'll do one more time to the back. All right, find your even feet. Let's come down for a rest just for a second. You can come off the block if you like, although we're going back on with the same leg. Whoa, I can definitely feel this in this one hip. One more thing. Stepping back onto the block, and you can have 2 blocks in a row if your one block does not support your foot. You can have a step or a stool as well. Okay, finding the position where your feet are even, and then we're going to dip the foot down, trying to keep the opposite leg straight. Now, one of my legs is a little shorter, so I'm probably going to bend a little bit. And then use the muscles all around the hips to lift that back up, maybe even a little higher this time, a few times. So a lot of this work is coming from the muscle in the opposite hip, although as you lift up, you might also feel the hips and glutes on the leg that's lifting and lowering. One more time on this side. Lift. Lift a little more. Come down to parallel to the ground. And then touch down. And let's take a moment in mountain pose before we shift to the other side. Whew, standing with both feet on the ground, appreciating the ground under both feet. All right, we've got one more side and then maybe one more little last thing before we finish. So let's find the place where we can step onto the block. Now, if you prefer to switch your position to the wall so you're holding the wall with the other hand, you can do that. I'm going to stay facing you. So remember that first we found that position where it's like mountain pose. Not one hip is not hiked taller than the other. Hips are even. Our feet feel even though one is suspended in air. And then we'll abduct. Abduct means move the leg away. It doesn't have to come high. It doesn't take much to feel those muscles kick in, especially since this leg already worked. And then adduct to the front. Abduct to the side. Adduct a little to the rear. And we're moving rear and front just to slightly engage different muscles. Remember, that is what we're trying to do. We're trying to pull the muscles into the bone, using the muscles to lift, using the muscles to move the leg across. And one last time, front and back. Use those muscles, engage those muscles. Strengthen and stabilize the muscles you're working. Last time to the back. Come back out. Find parallel, and we'll touch down for a moment. Brief rest. Okay, back up with the same foot. Last little bit. Feet even to start. At any point, feel free to play around with your balance. This is also a big challenge, playing around with your balance. I'm not going to do that today. And then as you're ready, start to lower that foot, keeping the top leg as straight as possible. The bottom foot does not have to touch the ground. We're just trying to keep it in that parallel to the floor position. And then a little lift and a hip hike, using the muscles all around the hip. This muscle is definitely going to engage. You might feel this hip engaging as well. Come back down. You notice we're only doing 3 of these. Lower as if you're trying to stomp on the floor. Engage the muscles of the hip to lift. Lower, trying to reach the floor. One last time, engage, lift, maybe a little more of a hike. And then before you set it down, take a moment to find that parallel place. Maybe let go of the wall for a moment. Whew, and release. Come down. All right, we'll just do one little last thing for a little bit of strength building. Take the block, it's going to go between the thighs. And if you did the block party with me, you might remember this from block party. Squeeze into the block with your legs. Feel how as you squeeze into the block, you have to engage these muscles of the outer hips, which run all the way down the side of your legs, your IT band, your tensor fascia lata. A lot of times we don't engage the muscles. We stretch the muscles, we do hip openers, and we're doing all this stretching, not engaging and strengthening. So we really want to try to engage and strengthen. Let's take this up one little notch and engage and strengthen even more by sitting back into our chair pose. So hinging at the hip, keeping the chest relatively upright, or maybe a 90-degree angle between torso and thighs or so. Sending the hips back. You don't have to go deep. You don't have to do anything with your arms. If it helps you to reach your arms forward to counterbalance, you can. You can keep your arms resting. Sometimes I like to put my arms in my hip crease to encourage sending the butt back. You can also put your hands on your outer thighs and encourage that engagement of the muscles pulling inward. Now, just like when we held our Warrior 2 position, you can start to feel the strength really build. I have a clock in front of me. Let's do this for about 30 more seconds. Really, anytime you hold a pose for 30 seconds, and we'll probably have done more like a minute total once we finish this pose. Each time you hold for 30 seconds, that's where you're really starting to build in some of those strength gains. If 30 seconds isn't possible, you can build up to that. But that's what we're going for. A minute holding a pose. Whoa, so much strength work in the minute. We have just a few more seconds. Maybe in these last seconds, you send the butt, the hips a little bit deeper, and then press up. And you can remove the block. So that was it. That was your hip strength practice, your hip strength, your hip strong, your hip stable practice. I really hope that this helped you. I would love to hear in the comments what you thought. Check out for some of my other theme practices up here. Have a great rest of your day.